Let's have a play with magnetic closures. Hello and welcome to the Treasured Page. I'm Melanie and this is our quiet crafting space. On my desk today is some scrap junk paper that I'm going to look and see if I can turn it into something more interesting that we could put into a journal. For our monthly Build a Journal project, I challenged everybody to have a go at making a booklet that hangs over a page. So it would be something that hung over and the booklet was on one side and on the other there was something else. So we're going to have a look at that today and put together my version of that. And we're also going to have a look at a magnetic closure. Now, earlier on today, I went for a little walk with my daughter and we were on the hunt for little metal pieces that would attach to a magnet. Okay, we are on location. I'm here with my daughter and we are just having a look outside these green doors. And if we just have a peer in, we can see that this is a reclamation yard for metal. There's the van, there's the old metal rusty things. It's very exciting actually for a junk journaler. People have left things outside. I'm not going to start rummaging through that. I'm not at that point of my journey where I can rifle through things, but this is the sort of thing that have been left, old rusty trays. Now that's completely perfect for dyeing your papers on. You'll even get a rusty effect on the papers, so those are absolutely perfect. Now I didn't leave those have been left by somebody else, but we're not here for that. What we're here for outside this metalwork scrap yard is this sort of thing. I don't know if you can see that, but that's an old nut. We're looking for washers, little silver washers that are going to be something that will be magnetic. So we're just going to help ourselves to the little pieces, if we can find them, down here and hope that they are magnetic. We'll get home and we'll clean them up and see what we can do with these. And here we have the little metal pieces that we found outside. They have all been washed and sterilised and they're back in the craft room. And we managed to find quite a few, and some of them are rusty and so therefore they're quite interesting, like that one. That could easily be sewn on and be an interesting piece in its own right. And then there are these ones and they are magnetic, and the way I've tested that is to get some of my magnet strips here and just check that they are actually magnetic and sticking. So all the ones that are, I am putting in the pile that is going to be useful. And now we have two sides of a magnetic closure, and we'll just check that they're working. They're working nicely. This one's not so good because it's got paint on it. So even the other side, it's a little bit different from the others. It's quite shiny and it's got paint on it, so I wouldn't use that one. So test them before you use them. If you find washers that you might have in the shed, in the garage, certainly in the hardware shop. So we all have magnets on fridge magnets. We have these things that you could maybe pull off and use if you've got old magnets that you don't want anymore. We sometimes pick up these sort of things at gift shops, and this is the magnet here, and maybe it's got a photograph in and you've been somewhere and you've bought the obligatory photograph and now everybody has grown up or it's just got scruffy. These are the times where you could maybe salvage the magnet out of the back and use it for a craft project. You can also buy magnetic tape. Now I've had this for years. I don't tend to use it and I forget all about it, but actually this is something that we could use. Also, if you've discovered these neodymium magnets, they are really super strong. Two of these work very nicely as a magnetic closure, but they can be a little bit expensive. These ones are very thin. I've gone for 3mm, and they're also very small, so if you can get flat but not as small as this, that would be perfect. I often find I might need two. But when I've got a magnet like this and then a washer just from some junk that we've just found outside, they stick together really nicely, and that's actually quite a strong attachment. So that works really well. We can stick one side down and then we can have maybe a couple of these, and that would provide a very strong closure. I'm going to keep these two off to one side and see what I want to use when I get this project underway. So how I'm going to tackle this is I found this piece with this cutout. This is packaging. It was tissue paper, and that was the window to see the tissue paper. I'm going to use the width of that as a guide, and I'm going to cut this supplement piece in half because it's already got the fold up here, and I'm just going to use that as a substrate. I'm cutting off this and I'm hoping that that's going to be what I need. Okay, so now I've got this piece which is the same width as my packaging piece here, and this is going to become my fold over, which will ultimately come and live over the top of my page like that, and then I will have this all embellished. This is the inside, so I want to be able to put my magnet in here and cover it with something light such as a book page. The glue on, and now I'm going to put it over the top of the magnets that are here. So that's there, that's not going anywhere, and then I will bring that back down here like that. And now I know exactly where that's got to go. And then we can add a bit more glue around and over the top of the magnet, over the top of the washer, and then we can add in the next piece. So now I've got the washer all sandwiched in there, and we should have something that connects. Okay, I've just pulled this back because the two magnets didn't seem to be strong enough for this piece. So what I'm going to do is try and use my magnetic tape. I'm going to peel away the backing of this, and we're going to give that another try. So I'm going to put it on top of the washer, pull this paper back down where I want it to be, and then that's where I need that to be. And then I can roll that back over. So those two things will now connect, and what we'll do is just add the glue back in. It's always a tricky business, but sometimes when you've got a larger piece of paper and you want it to be able to clip together with another piece of paper in between, so it would actually have to hold substantially like that. So that one's working quite nicely. And I'm going to put that there to strengthen that join. Cutting this piece away, I'm just going to concentrate on this bit, and I think I'm going to turn it upside down and have that as my top piece. Alright, here I've got some recycled paper from a notepad that I've kept, and it's really quite nice texture. It's got little fibres in there, so it's an interesting paper. So I'm going to back this onto the substrate to give it something more appealing, and I'm also going to back this, and I found this lovely book page as well, which I'm going to cut out, and we're going to make something out of all of this. First I'm going to cut out my book page. I'm going to round the corners here because they were rounded on the original. This was a book page that has an image on back and front. It's quite nice to be able to see both sides, so I'm thinking this should be the front cover of a booklet, and the paper's quite strong as well. So taking the ruler, I'm just going to put that to the same width as my packaging piece. Take that, that's good scrap. I can tea stain that or do something with it. And I'll just cut a little bit off the bottom, so I've got the same size as this window, and now they match, so that's okay. So I'm gluing down this piece to my substrate. Okay, so far so good. Now I'm doing a similar thing here. I'm cutting out this piece of paper just to be my base. This is going to cover up that packaging, and so we won't see the marketing from that anymore. So that is going to be like that. That's makes a lovely journaling card as well. And just to recap, we're going to have a booklet on one side of our flip over. So that is going to be the booklet, and that's the flip over, which is connected with the magnets. And then on the back side, we're going to have this window, which I need to alter and just make pretty. And I think what I'm going to do is layer this piece in here. And this comes from a digital kit by Cleve Black Creations. I think it's called Blossom Song. That's quite pretty. So that's going to live in there as a background. And then I want to be able to slot in a tag or something. And so what I've got here is a little booklet with some pages. So that was on that backing, which is going to come and stick down there. And then there's a little jotter pad, which is useful for the new year. And then that's your January booklet. So you can write all your goals and lists of things to do to kick off the new year. So that is what I'm doing. So I'm just going to sort of assemble this now. And how I would like to have this is by having a fabric binding down that part there, so we can still open this and see the other side of it. So if you can see, this card says January on one side, February on the other, and I think they're both lovely. I'd like to be able to keep that. So I've also got this sari silk here, and I think that that picks out the nice greens in there. I'm using the fabric glue here, just going round in a circular motion, just so that I've got enough to glue that bit down. Sari silk's really pretty. I want to make sure that I've got enough that's going to wrap round to the front. Just want to cover up the glue that I've got there. We're not going to see this bit, so I just need this bit to be flat. That's great. And I think I'll just have to take off the end there. And that's the little booklet. So, oh, we've got thunder. And here's the little booklet, and it opens out like that to reveal a little jotter, and lots of nice papers here that we can tear out some interesting pieces, and then a little bit of graph paper there, some tea stain, and then that nice one on the bottom, which is going to come and live here now. I've just found this in my scrap tray, and I'm going to cut a bit there. Going to rip that in half. This came from a pack of papers that could be used in some sort of folder or binder, but I didn't have the binder. I just bought the pack of papers because I thought the holes were so cool, and then I've dyed it in a vegetable dye of some sort. I think that could have been a red cabbage dye, I believe. It's slightly blue. So it could have been, or it could have been one of my berry dyes that went wrong in the year, but nice pretty papers nevertheless. I think it could have been blackberries actually. I can't remember, but anyway, this is a nice navy blue ribbon here, and it just seems to pick up the colours that are going on over here. So I think that that's quite sweet, and what I'll do is just put a bit of glue on the underside there to finish that bit off. I think we could probably leave that bit trailing, and a little bit of glue there to stick that one down. I'll just smarten that bit up there so it doesn't interfere with the closure. Spread that out to hide that glue, and let's just see what that looks like. No, I don't like that. I'll just take that bit off as well actually. There we go, so I've just weaved that through. I think that's really sweet. It picks up the colour that I've got there and just adds a little bit of soft texture to the piece. And I can put a bit of stamping here as well. I'm just using the 3-in-1 glue all over there so that I can now stick my little jotter pad down. It's a bit more substantial, so I wanted it to have a stronger glue. I'll just move that into place, and I'm just going to go around the edges here with a brown ink. I'm using an oxide ink because that is what I have to hand. And just going over there just to scruff up the edges a little bit. Just give a little bit of detail to the edges, take away any white cut lines and just run the ink pad over that. So that's nice now, that's lovely. And then on here we can do the same. So that is one side of it. That can either be the front of it or the back of it. And then this side I'm going to glue down this so that when my frame comes over the top we see something underneath. And if I put anything else in there and then take it out, there's still a backing. I think I'm just going to embellish my frame a little bit more. I'm using Uncharted Mariner for some blue, just to pick out the blue there, and also because this is going to be a winter theme, and I thought that that would be quite nice if I could just bring in a tone of blue here and there, and then I might do another second pattern over the top. We'll see how we get on. And just have a little hint of that on there. And now I'm using a hickory smoke colour with a script stamp. I'm just going to see if this gives me anything interesting. Yeah, that's quite nice. Just a bit of texture. Lovely. And then I've been working in silver recently, so I want to bring this out again because this was quite fun. And I just want to see if I can get some little splats here onto this. Some quite strong splashes, really. I think that that would be nice because I want this to be wintry and to bring in those colours of ice and sort of the cold, but also just this nice pewter colour here from Tim Holtz Stain. Okay, we've got a bit. That's quite nice. I'm just going to dry that, and then hopefully that will look good. Okay, now I found this from a magazine, so I'm going to make that into a tag. I've found some paper here, which is going to be the backing, and then I'm going to sew round probably. I will see how I feel about that in a minute, but first things first, I want to put my frame on here with this piece. Okay, a nice generous coating of the stick glue, and then we are going to put this down. Okay, and down that goes. That's lovely. And then the frame is going to come over the top of that. Okay, with the stronger glue I have just glued 3 sides of this frame, so that's the top and the bottom and the left hand side here, lining it up now down at the bottom and just bringing that in. And if you've been following along with Build a Journal, you can watch all the videos on my playlist for Build a Journal for 2024. And every month I put out a project, and this was this month's project, which was to build something fun that hangs over either side of a page. And in this case, the theme was winter. Now, this came from a book page, like a magazine. It was glossy, and I have painted it over with a matte medium just to reduce that glossy sheen, and then I added this stencil over the top, and I've used a white colour there, which was this ink archival pigment ink pad in Moonlight White. It's brilliant, and that is really sweet. It's got an ever so slightly shimmery sheen to it. You can hardly see it, but it is there, and it's very soft and almost like an oxide ink. It's nicer than the picket fence that is by Tim Holtz. This one is just not something I go for. I don't like that one, but I do find that the archival one that I've just shown you really works very nicely, so that's pretty. And then this is all the splatters and how it looks. I've put a little bit of embellishment up the top there in the form of a nice lace with a silver thread through it, and that's how that works. So I've strengthened up the top, and then this is the other side. So just to put that back, that's a journaling card. I put the stencil on the other side of it as well. And then that can come and live back in there. There we go. So that's the winter side. And then the other side, a very different sort of warm vibe, cozy cottage. This is how I feel about it. It says January, and then when we open it up, we've got February, and then we've got a little jotter pad which will allow you to write down all sorts of things, from lists of things to do or places you want to visit this year, any kind of financial workings out on that maths paper, and also graph paper. Maybe you want to draw out a different room layout and really freshen up your home. You can tear the sheets out and put them elsewhere in the journal to remind you of all the things that you want to do. You can have lists, you can have goals, you can have special phone numbers, and then you can even do some painting, drawing, or anything you want. But once those sheets are torn out, perhaps that just leaves that page there, and something can be stuck in or hidden, or it's journaling space, or a photograph can be put there. This will become less bulky, and then that can come and live in the journal. It can also move around like a floating idea, and I've just embellished it on the inside as well, but that's really not to be seen. We want a journal. Where's my journal? So this is my builder journal that I have made entirely from the things that have been sent to me this year by Happy Mail and swap partners around the UK. And then we just open that up, and then we can see what this might look like on the inside of this journal. And this is quite nice, so I think it sort of goes anywhere really, but we'll just hook it over the top of a page, and then we can get the sense of what it could look like in a journal. I really like that. That's absolutely sweet. That's really fun. So there's a little booklet to start off the new year, and then over the page we've got this. And you could even put a paper clip down the bottom, and that becomes a belly band as well if you're quite happy to have that fixed. And there you go. So that is how that would appear. I think that that's a fun project, a nice little weekend put together, and then that can be sent off as a really nice gift. And I even put here, sorry I've got inky fingers, the little detail which I cut off of this page, which tells you all the Latin names for the flowers that have been drawn here and then over the page as well. So that was just a little bit of interest to learn your wildflowers of the British Isles. So I'm really pleased with that. I think that's very nice. We could even put a little tab there if we wanted to. And that's just a really nice little nod to the Edwardian Victorian Britain. Quite fun, goes with any journal, especially a vintage one. And then over here, that's no different. We've got a lovely UK winter scene there with the sheep in the fields, and it's all frosty with snow. Definitely something that you would see here in England. So I think that that is lovely. I've enjoyed putting that together, and a little bit of fun there with the snail down the bottom. Using up some nice papers and interesting supplies, I think that hopefully you will be inspired to have a go and see if you can add one of those to your journal this January, and really have some fun journaling in the little booklet there, and then of course the journaling card that is living under that frame. And that was packaging, but that could have been an envelope as well, so there's no reason why we can't have a look at our supplies and just see what comes through the door in the form of junk and transform it into something completely treasured that you can add to a treasured page. So thank you so much for joining me today. The next project for Build a Journal will be out on the 1st of January, and we're going to have a nice fun project there to lead us into the new year. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Do have a wonderful weekend, and above everything else, just slow down and make crafting time for you. Bye bye now.